All right. What's going on, you guys? Make sure to let me know if there are any volume audio issues. I put on a noise gate thing so that I know I had some white noise in the background for a while. Hopefully this kind of takes that away, cleans up the audio for you guys, and hopefully we have a better quality stream because of it. It is Wednesday, our usual closing bell show done on YouTube here. As a reminder to you guys, we have been doing a lot more of these directly in our Discord. When it's live on YouTube, please go ahead, say hi, let me know that you're here. I can't exactly see who exactly is here. I just know how many people are watching. Let me know. Are you here from STAX? Are you here from TraderLink or InvestIQ? If it's a Discord that brought you here, if you're just here because you're a regular YouTube channel, YouTube subscriber, let me know. Happy to know what's working, and that way we can get YouTube to help push us out a little bit more. Hit that like button. Again, we're going to be here every single Wednesday looking over stuff. We don't really have too many earnings to go over right now, but we do have Costco coming up tomorrow, so we'll probably peek over at that. In terms of today, I wanted to go over what I've noticed in the flow today, as usual. Man, this RGTI continues to pop up. We got into these last week, a 2-week expiration. The reason for it being that they spent right here, they spent almost $15 million on it last week on the 17th. These $23 calls for this Friday, I got in at about $1. All right, I took profits at 200 something percent. As of today, those are looking at about $10 each. So it was a 10x return if I had held on to today. So we drop the ball every now and then in this situation. We got out with some pretty nice green profits. And one of the things that Max and I always talk about is how one of the it's a good problem to have, but one of the problems that we sometimes have is that we get out a little bit earlier just because, again, the profits they're too good not to take at this point. But RGTI, we are seeing it's running up pretty hard. We do have some puts that came in yesterday, but we still do see quite a few calls coming in. Now they're aiming for 35 by Friday. Only $55,000 spent on that one, but the $1 million here spent for October 24th. Kind of a weird expiration date. That's a weekly, not a monthly. $34 strike. Very close to being in the money already. I think that one should be able to pay pretty decently, if anything. But again, your choice if you want to take those risks with it. The bigger risk one would be this Friday, the $35 calls, see if it continues to move up just a little bit. Those are probably already a little bit pricier than that $94 entry have. One of the things we keep noticing, I already posted this in my channel today, we see a lot of Intel coming in. There we go. Intel's been coming in pretty hard all today. We do have, let's see, 2 puts that came in, right? 3 puts right there. But everything else has been calls. Aiming for January 2026, $35. We've got November, $35. We've got October, $30. So there's a lot. The unusual ones, I'm already in these, and these are already up about 10 to 15%. They topped out at about 25 so far. But I'm still in this position for Intel. Unusual for February. If you want to buy yourself a little bit of time, I think that's a great idea. $40 strike. So a $10 move. That's a 30% move from where we're at right now. So keep that in mind. Just going to pull up my trading view for you guys real quick. I always remind you guys, pull out to the big picture. What does the big picture show? What does it say right now? And yeah, we had Intel. We already showed you guys this back when we were down at these lower levels. I already talked about how this is making that Wyckoff accumulation pattern. So you have this range that is built from a big push down, we see a selling climax, and we see a range being built. Market here in about yellow. I got a little bit of lag today. There we go. Okay. That yellow range is basically, you can imagine this whole range down here in my graphic that I put in. Once we break out of that range, we usually have a small area at the right where we see consolidation and last bits of supply before we break out. We already saw that. Then what did you know? We see this big push up, right? Intel recently has been having quite a bit of, we had the talk about the US taking the stake in it. Right now, NVIDIA has also put in money into Intel. Some say it's a political play just because they're restricting chip access in China. So maybe having Intel, having the government on our side or on NVIDIA's side, if anything, is a good idea. So we've already seen this push up. We've made a new, broken back out of the range. Now you can understand. Now we're dealing with these previous supplies and support and resistances. We went up high, already came back down, back to a resistance point, and so I think we're headed up higher, or at the very least, we should be able to retest this 32.30 is what I'm expecting here. So, Flow is all saying that we should be seeing a bit more to come for. All right, let's max in. I don't know why that took so long. What up, Max? Hear me? Might be a little bit of lag today. I see you. What's up, dude? Can you hear me? Your audio not connected?
Hold on. What is going on?
Speak. There we go.
No.
Okay. I hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you right now. No. It was just working. I don't know what you changed. It was working before you switched something. I still can't hear you.
Test.
There we go. I hear you.
I get a. There we go.
All right. I just went over Intel. I just went over how my RGTI calls would have been a 10xer looking at them today. I mean, I got out of them last week. I really don't like holding on to the last week before expiration. But I will say there are often times where I see the big pops happen that very last week, especially with anything that has momentum. It's tough because sometimes they pop on like Thursday or Friday, and my hands get jittery if I'm looking at an expiration getting that close and I'm still out of the money.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah,
Getty's a tough one too.
Yeah.
Because I'm holding shares at like $11 a share right now, so I'm significantly up, but I also have a 5-year plan for it. So it's not something I'm like, why, like I don't even have it in my Robinhood account. That's in my E-Trade that I don't even I log into maybe once every other week, just because it's like IBM and RGTI are the only two things I'm holding in that account right now.
Oh.
So It's one of the tough ones. Quantum's gonna be tough. My best advice, like I said in the Discord the other day, everyone was like, "Why don't you like QBTS and all these other companies?" Well, because all those other companies are selling you piss in a bucket and saying that it's raining, versus having an actual product where like RGTI has a actual product that they can put not put out, but at least show that they're making progress towards selling to enterprise potentially, which in my opinion has way more upside in the long run, because what you have to understand here is like Eric, you remember the predictive analytics hype that happened in 2011?
Yeah.
So if you look at the history of tech, when things started to advance aggressively, it was back when predictive analytics came out. Now, no one understood what that really meant because people just thought, oh, I can give it data and then it'll make predictions. But they didn't understand like the quality of the data mattered. So then AI was developed because that did what? Enhanced predictive analytics. So then what did we have? A bunch of AI companies start popping out left and right. And the big ones that worked, they went and acquired, well, predictive analytics companies that were just living on hopium and investors throwing more money to increase their burn rate quarter over quarter. So fast forward, we're now at the point where AI companies are starting to fizzle out because if you don't have a physical product or something you're actually selling, then there's nothing that people can really do in terms of justifying spending X amount of dollars on an investment, right? So with quantum, it's going to be the same thing. The big factors are early on companies who are able to get out a any type of model or any type of like MVP in a sense because IBM already did it. They're going to be the ones who truly win in this space because at the end of the day, even if they don't work out, a big company like IBM comes in or Nvidia or Dell swoops you up for pennies on the dollar and then buys out your IP and fires all your executives and then basically makes your product for you, probably worse than what you would have done, but you couldn't generate that cash flow. And I see QBTS and those other companies falling into that space because, well, they're behind in terms of a timetable when it comes to quantum computing, because quantum computing is the only thing that will allow us to experience true AI in a sense. So that's why I'm bullish on RGTI, because they were first to market with an MVP that actually like makes sense. And our Soxel calls are up, by the way, too, SOXLs, from that unusual that I called out. They've been like jumping around from like up 9%. They were up like I think 23% or so yet the other day. Um, so I just saw that in the chat from Dark Silver 19.
Yeah. I'll go over all that in just a moment. Let's start off here with Snapchat. Snapchat still looking good in terms of the flow. I know we had a big move popped up and it's really retraced quite a bit. It popped up over $9. It's back to like 8.30, 8 something like that. But 8 has been a solid support. I'm still in my calls. I actually added some, I want to say November $9 calls, I believe, are the ones I got into. My average is around, I think, $1 each. They're down about like 10 to 15% right now. But I do believe that Snapchat should be making its next move in due time. We've got about 2 months for those ones, so I'm not too worried. And then the leaps that I had they were up like 120%. I should have taken probably half off the table, to be honest. But I'm still in those. It's one of my bigger positions right now in my portfolio, just because with the way that the chart looks, you know, I've got a bit of confidence behind it right now, and I'm willing to take that risk for it. Another good thing to show is if you guys haven't already checked out WaveX, WaveX right here shows a very big cross between our puts and calls for Snapchat. We're definitely way higher up on the calls. There's, you know, almost $1 million of calls right here and about 400 puts sold at this point as an overall measure. You're still looking to get into this, I would say I know some of you guys look at the unusual. You guys look for the blue and the gold lines and try to get into those. Just be aware, this one is for Friday, and this came in on Monday. This one's probably down right now. It's super cheap, which means that we could get a pretty solid return on it if you do want to take that risk. But this is the kind of position I would probably say size more towards zero. I like the November, even this December $9 calls. They're not that expensive. It's a $100 each, if anything, right now. The thing to keep in mind is they only spent 55K on that one. The ones that stick out, oh, I'm sitting a little too far. This one right here, 6/18/26. These are the $13 calls for next year. Again, those ones they're adding into that one. Look at that OI. Oh, let me scroll down so you can see it. Look at that OI right there. Right there. 154,000 calls. All right. So they're still in those, which gives you that confidence that they're expecting another move. They haven't gotten out of that just yet. Obviously, we could check for what it says as of today, but I don't think that OI is necessarily changed. So next, you guys asked for SOXL. The thing that I will say is this move is riding off of the tailwinds of, we had Nvidia, we had CoreWeave, we had I mean, technically MU was part of it. MU kind of tanked yesterday after their earnings. They popped and then tanked and kind of stayed flat and dropped a little bit more today. SOXL is going to be your semiconductors. So ultimately, it's a 3x leveraged position. So that's the only thing I would say is be careful. These 3x positions move nicely when they're going your way, but when they go against you, they do hurt. Okay, so just be aware of that. I mean, they bought the dip back in April here. This big old spike right here. But looks like we should, if it continues to break upward, we definitely could see 36. Probably test around 40 is where I would say this should go before we see a little bit of maybe a bounce or some profits being taken. But it's riding off of the hot hype of semiconductors right now, right? You got Intel moving, you got Nvidia moving, AMD's been doing decent. MU kind of threw a little bit of water on the fire, I would say, but as of right now, as the semiconductor, the entire sector, I think they're doing just fine. Interesting. K-View. If you guys didn't know, the whole Tylenol fiasco we're going through right now, we actually see them somewhat buying the dip to be at. No, it dropped a little bit more today, actually. Something interesting to consider. So, I saw something on Instagram, and it was this guy explaining how Dr. Oz is involved with one of K-View's direct competitors. It's interesting how they use the name Tylenol in the entire press conference and the press releases, because overall Tylenol is just the name brand of acetaminophen, and if ultimately it's the drug itself that's causing any sort of issues, which by the way there's a lot of research that kind of debunks that, but if it really is acetaminophen that's causing the issues, why are they so focused on Tylenol? Tylenol is owned by Kenvue Inc., and you can see that their price has dropped quite significantly. Question though here is, do we potentially see a selling climax? It is still kind of a newer company in terms of being publicly listed, but if you keep an eye on what STAX has to say, I think you could probably get into some decent entries, because at the end of the day, they're going to continue to sell the things that they have, the products that they have. We do see volume coming in, especially with the sell-off, but I do think that in time, I think this is just a political play for shares to get snatched up by the politicians. But if we look at STAX right now, right? If this really was such a big deal, and it, look at this. Look at what's being bought, guys. Like, I get it. Bad press, bad news. But another thing that, the great Warren Buffett has always said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. What is going on with KView right now? Everybody's fearful. They're dumping the stock. People don't want it anymore. That's when you really look closely and see, okay, well, actually, aside from Monday, when we had the press conferences and we saw it drop from about, what here, 17 something, it's down to 16. I would say maybe give it a few days, but you might want to consider getting in a starter position with this. November 21st, $18 calls. December 19th, $19 calls. They're not that expensive. This is something, actually, Max, I would even say we might want to look into this for our 1K challenge. Maybe grab some December calls. You're on mute again, bro. Or it's not working.
Yeah, I like KView
Yeah.
for that. I think it's a good long term, especially
Mm-hmm.
because I think it does need some time to recover. Because bad press, they have to do some PR handling probably, and then they'll come out with some kind of announcement that will give investors way too much hope in a sense. And yeah, so I definitely can see that though with KView being a very beneficial long-term investment, especially with the, I guess, lack of research that they presented in a sense to make the claims that they did.
Yeah.
The opposing side, that's Trump at least. There's people already on TikTok making fun of him for the speech he gave because he could barely
You could barely
pronounce.
pronounce it. Yeah. Aced. Yeah. Oh my
Like,
god.
sure, yeah,
If you're
okay,
gonna
whatever you're
go,
about to say.
if you're gonna go on the air and talk about something, you should try to pronounce it before you get on the air.
Yeah, 100%. That was
Oh,
insane. I thought it was
actually,
like an exaggeration. I saw like a TikTok skit and then I like went and watched it and I was like, "Oh wow, he was not exaggerating. That was a hard watch."
I will say here with WaveX, it still looks like it does have a little bit more of a bearish sentiment right now. So maybe wait for the day where we see WaveX showing us much more bullishness, if anything.
Yeah.
Give me one second. I've been trying to screenshot stuff to post in my channel a little bit more, so that way, it doesn't get lost in translation. Um, Those of you that are here, looks like we've got 19 people watching. Go ahead, say hi. Let me know where you are from. I wish this was like Discord where I could see your usernames and know who's watching. I think yesterday in our Discord live stream we had like 40, almost 50 people watching, which is awesome to see. YouTube numbers tend to be a little bit lower, depending on if we see any sort of earnings coming up. Which, by the way, let's peek over at Costco. Nothing solid for Costco. I will say, I mean, ever since we had the baby, I've been at Costco quite a bit just to get diapers, wipes, and obviously food as well. I don't think their foot traffic's calmed down at all. People are still shopping at Costco. But the flow isn't showing anything that I could determine a good sentiment from. Both calls and puts being sold at this point, a little bit more bearish than bullish, but I wouldn't say so determining that I would want to take a side at this point. Chart, Costco. Costco's been strong, guys. I mean, oh, I want to bring this in as well. One of the determining factors of whether or not, like, I kind of agree that yes, we are feeling the effects, or at least the everyday people, we're feeling the effects of a recession. We're feeling less buying power. Consumers are not spending as much You can see Costco though. Costco's continued to go up because they still do make money. A lot of people are buying in bulk, and especially people, families and stuff like that, tend to do that. So we could see some sort of formation like this where we see good earnings, we could probably see it bounce back up. If we see poor earnings, we'll probably see it come back down toward. I would say this is the level that under 900 is probably the first target for the bears, if anything. Um, but I was looking at, there's somebody telling me about, okay, there's two ETFs that you want to consider. There's discretionary spending, so XLY, and then there's the necessities like consumer. What's the other one? XLP. There we go. So XLY is consumer discretionary. XLP is consumer staples. All right. So quick explanation of the two. Discretionary or discretionary spending is, the excess or the extra money that you have after you've bought your necessities, after you've paid your rent, after you've bought your groceries and the things that you need for everyday living. Discretionary spending is the extra stuff, your Louis Vuittons, the fancy stuff, or the things that aren't necessary for everyday living. Staples are, your grocery stores, your everyday necessities that you want. All right. And so interestingly enough, discretionary is actually making new all-time highs right now. Even though, yes, technically we're feeling the effects of slowdown. People are being squeezed. A lot of it has to do with rent and housing prices being so high. But at the end of the day, the comparison that we want to make. So XLP, we can do this we do XLY divided by XLP. And what this does is it gives us a ratio of what's being spent. And so let's give you an example. What happened back in 2008? 2008, we see the ratio of discretionary spending dropped to real lows. Okay? The ratio of discretionary to staples was under 1. You could say that, okay? Back in 2000 as well, we saw a little bit of slowdown there too. What happened here in 2020, March of 2020? We all know what happened. We see this big drop off in discretionary spending. People are keeping they're spending just on the staples, the things that they need, versus trying to buy a bunch of stuff that, the luxury items and the things that are unnecessary. We saw it drop also in December of 2022, right? High interest rate environment, things like that. So as of right now, at least what the markets and at least what consumer spending is saying is that we're hitting all-time highs right now. People are actually spending on the discretionary. Now, I will point out, you and I would consider, we're regular people. The top 1% is going to be responsible for the majority of this spending. I would maybe top 10%, if anything, right? They're still going out. They're still going out and spending things, spending good money. They're buying the things that they want, supercars, and going on trips and things like that. Sorry, Chemo, but you're one of those guys. You just bought a McLaren. You're on vacation right now for your honeymoon. That's what happens when you make that type of money. You have the ability to do that type of stuff. But a lot of the money being spent right now actually shows that we're not exactly in the risk, or we're not seeing the recessionary forces that we usually do. So that's just something interesting to consider here of how discretionary spending is actually at all-time highs compared to the staples. You got anything to add to that, Max?
Yeah, the Michigan consumer sentiment usually gives a pretty good indication of that as well, because it just shows our consumers actually spending money and consumer confidence, basically, because the higher consumer confidence is, obviously, the more money people are going to spend. Um, Yeah, I think that's really the things I'll look at is usually that Michigan report when it comes out because it kind of will give you a good idea of what happened in the last month and then kind of set the tone for what we would want to see for momentum to carry into that following month as well. So the nice part is if you follow these staples and then you also follow the according reports of not how these staples are priced, but how they may move. It makes it a lot easier to track these, especially like when you see those, is it XLF that we always see prints on in stacks,
Yeah,
I want to
that's
say.
fine. That's financials. Yeah.
Yeah, so but I'm just as an example, like if you see that and you're looking at financial reports, then when you look at those XLF prints, you can kind of put two and two together in your brain. And then WaveX kind of just becomes your, we'll call it confirmation bias because the thing with WaveX is we for example, like we just saw 3.36 million get dropped on QQQ puts. Is that does that mean that everybody's bearish on QQQ? I don't know. You would want to look at WaveX, and if you see that the aggregate is green, then you can look at that big print as almost like a hedge against maybe a broader position or the broader market at that point. Versus a, hey, I'm confident that QQQ is going to see 566 by November 21st of 2025, right? So those are just things to kind of keep in mind when you are looking at staples or indexes or anything like that. You always want to see what is the sentiment overall because a lot of these people are playing and hedging against bigger positions that they have out, whether that be in common shares, whether that be in a long, whatever the case might be, because what they're trying to do is just preserve that capital. Because who knows, maybe 3.36 million is like us spending 3K on a position or $300 on a position, right? So it's all perspective with the big, especially those big money prints when you see anything in staples or anything like that.
I just got the alert that Intel broke one of my. I usually set alerts above and below what I want to see. Look at Intel. It's shooting off right now. I wonder if anything came in, or if it's just price action. Interesting to see. Share that with the community. Yep. Intel ripping. Other things I wanted to share before we go into market close. Okay, number one, Intel. There's still some more buying that just came in. You'll see right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. They bought for January. They bought for end of the week. They bought for October. Bought for 2027. All right. One of the feel-good stories about Intel was there's a guy that took his grandma's inheritance of about almost $800,000, dropped into Intel right before earnings, like 2 or 3 earnings before, and Intel tanked from $30 down to like 20. So he immediately lost like 200 to 300K of grandma's money. If he's held on, he should be made whole again at this point. And now with the U.S. government taking a stake and NVIDIA putting some money into it as well, I do think Intel should be headed further up. I did post the charts in my channel if you guys want to take a look. It looks like we finished accumulation, and right now we're just looking for volume to keep potentially pushing it. The other one I want to point out, because I'm still in this one, I already sold my half my position at 100%, but CoreWeave still is seeing quite a bit of action. It is one of those names that you have to remember. Sometimes with a few of these names, you don't quite know if the rip has already happened and we're just going to see profit taking soon, or if there's more to come. That's kind of what happened with RGTI from last week. We saw a big pop. I like to sell the pops just because too many times I've seen the pop come and then all of a sudden, we're back down to even in a couple of hours or by the end of that day. So CoreWeave here, I basically letting my profits ride on this one right now. So my risk for this one is very minimal. But we do still have this morning. We saw more CoreWeave being bought. It keeps on testing the $30 range, and that $30 range seems to be holding up pretty well. Okay, so this is CoreWeave right here. We keep coming down to this $30 level, and if you use a bigger time frame, we have all these wicks just testing the lower end of it. So another thing that I will point out is this big. I'll use the bigger line up here. It looks like we're just testing the larger breakout. Okay, so what we have is the larger downtrend line. We've broken out of it, and we're really just retesting that. And as of right now, we're bouncing right back off of it. We technically already tested it once. We came back down, tested it twice. So as of right now, those are good signs. If you're bullish on CoreWeave, there is, a good solid potential. We should be able to see 138, and possibly if we are able to break out above that, we should be testing 144 or 147. Okay.
I know that news came out today on CoreWeave. There's an analyst out there who believes that we could see a 50% jump. And the big question is it a buy now? Not every company, one of those fast is CoreWeave. GPU is a service provider that's drawing bullish from Wall Street. Raymond James launched coverage with an outperform and a 130 target, and Citizens bumped its stance to market outperform, setting a bold $180 price target. And that's implying roughly a 50% upside from current levels. Analysts point to a fresh $6.3 billion order arrangement with NVIDIA, a path to $20 billion ARR by 2027. So really, it's just about the fact that they're really making a dent in that GPU as a service market that's starting to pick up here, and they are one of the leaders in it. And that's the same reason why Intel's popping off. The reason why they're popping off today is because of MU's earnings yesterday. What's his name, Meta or whatever, the CEO on that call, when they said that their worst performing sector was personal PCs and that kind of stuff and traditional servers, and they're looking to bring them up to market in a sense. Intel's always been looked at as the reason why their personal computing business doesn't succeed is because they've been behind in the GPU graphics and just overall updates of their computer partners. So if they're able to get these upgrades around the various partners they work with, then we should still see some steady bullishness going into Intel, especially in the long term. But we will see some micro pops like this, and then watch, it's going to trade flat for another like 7-8 days, where we'll watch it just flirt between like $31 and the low $29, in my opinion.
Yep. I have the October expiration for this one, October 17th. I do think we'll see that move by then. And I got in on one of these. I think this popped back here. This was coupled with when Oracle had their earnings, and all of a sudden we see. Oh, let me over to trading view. CoreWeave in this situation, I already had calls. I took profits on these ones, so I'm back in again. Now aiming for the 140 strike is where that one's at. But CoreWeave, I have for October 17th, which is right around here. I do think we'll see that move by then. Doesn't hurt to buy some more time, though. If you're buying November or December, more power to you. What else? Let's look at... Got 5 minutes till market close. Oh, and then, just so you guys see it too, WaveX going very bullish on CoreWeave. We've got a big gap between the calls and the puts. We have puts sold off, and quite a bit of calls being purchased. So, got a couple of tools at your disposal now. And you know what's great about STAX? And I'm gonna, this is my push to get you guys to get in sooner than later. We did acquire TraderLink. beginning of last month. So it's been almost 2 months now. We're working hard behind the scenes to merge everything. WaveX was released at the beginning of, was it the beginning of this month? Beginning of last month? Shoot. I think it's been 2 months now, right?
Yeah.
But we are doing our best and working as quickly as we can to merge the additional tools that they have into our servers, into our application as well. You know what? This one, Wolf. Wolf, I think, is another buy. It's already popped. What's crazy too is we were in these for our 1K challenge. If we had held on till this point as of now, our Wolf position would have probably tripled our 1K account pretty quick. It might have even been more. We got into these pretty cheap. I think we had for November technically. So again, Wolf, we see a lot of good flow for it right now. WaveX, very bullish as well. So another possible position for you guys to take in. October 10th might be a little bit close, but they are fairly cheap. I think October 17th looks pretty solid. If you are one of those people that likes more time, January 16th is also a good one, and this November 21st. I think they're all solid plays. Big money is in on these February 20th $12 calls. They're a little bit pricier, but they could very likely be in the money in due time. If you guys are also in our Discord, I post all of these. You know, I've had a couple of newer members ask me, what does it mean, Eric, when you post these screenshots? Well, first off, it's pretty easy in the screenshots to kind of tell what side is being chosen. So for example, you'll see this situation with KView, which we showed you guys earlier. I mean, you better not be buying puts if I show you all this green on here, because it's obvious it's a call position. The reason I screenshot this and I don't just type out what to get in, everybody's got a little bit different risk profile. The thing that I would like to say is what you can do is take a look as to what's unusual and what's big money, and then consider as well what expiration are you willing to get into and what is the premium that they spent. So, for example, over here with Snapchat, as much as this one is in blue, showing that it's an unusual print. Unusual basically meaning that it's very aggressive. I'll tell you why it's aggressive. They bought from Monday, they bought till Friday, so 9/26. It's a 17% expected move. For any stock, like a general rule of thumb, a stock on a normal day could move probably 0 to 4%, 5% is kind of standard. Okay, 5% is on the high end of things. With good news, you could see a 10% pop. All right, this guy is expecting in a week for Snapchat to move up 17%. So that's an aggressive position to be taking. Granted, though, however, they spent 55K, which is kind of small when you consider on the big scale of what big money can do. So keep that in mind. The other ones as well. So look at this. You've got October 10th, just so you know, that one right here, you see the gold in the money, meaning it's not as aggressive. They already are purchasing the $8 strike. So those ones have a little bit of safety to it. Another thing to consider is you have your standard monthly expirations where you're going to probably find a little bit more liquidity at. 10/10 is a weekly expiration. The 10/17 is your monthly one. So I would gravitate toward the monthly expirations just because I'm going to find better liquidity and a better situation to trade in. If you think 1 month, because you know this is a little less than 1 month, 10/17 is too short of time, then aim for the next one. November 21st, they are getting into those ones. $9 strike. Okay? If that's still too short for you, go for the next one. 12/19. Okay? So aim for those monthly expirations. Another thing you can do here is kind of peek. What is the most amount of money that they're spending in this one? Okay, and here you see January of 2027, $10 strike. They're spending a little bit more on the premiums on it, but they spent $248,000. Everything else is in, 50 to 80, maybe 90K is what they've spent. So use those as your indicators and use that to help determine what you're looking at. Another quick way to reference things, that's why we put together all these signals. On the right, you see these emojis. You have your time frame, you have your in the money or out the money, and then you have your FAR target. So that one in this situation, the more emojis that you see, the more unusual of a position it very likely is going to be. And so this one, the March 20th of 2026 $10 strike, that's actually a pretty solid one too. It's only $1.29. That one was on Monday. Probably a little bit cheaper now if you really still want to get into it. The wolf, just like we were showing guys, the gold band basically shows you that it's big money. You know, when I'm on my phone, I've got a 8-month-old at home right now, so sometimes I'll have to go keep him company to keep him from screaming. The if you know, sometimes it's going to be a smaller view from my phone, but still it gives you the same information. $1.39 million. So if they spend over $1 million, you'll see this gold band, the gold row. So February 20th, $12 strike. We're trading at 11. That's a pretty solid position to consider as well. Okay, so just a quick way for you to read. You know, if I were to sit here, especially if I were on my phone and I had to type out every single one of these, you guys would not get into these in time. I'm trying to get you guys the information as quickly as we can, so you guys can make an educated decision as to what big money is doing, and whether or not you guys, you know, it's up to you. Do you want to get into it or not? I'll generally announce if I'm getting into a position, or if people are asking me, they can always ask me what I'm in at the moment. But you know, manage your risk. That's the final thing. Is if you're getting into short dated stuff, it's more of a gambling mentality. It's great when it goes your way, but more often than not, on the long term of those types of situations, it really hurts when something moves the Monday after your expiration and you would have been in the money or would have made some decent profits off of. So with that being said, Wolf right now I think is a solid buy. I'll probably look at it tomorrow. I tend not to. I'm not very good at multitasking on here and trading while I'm talking to you guys, so I've missed some entries, I will admit. But Wolf looks pretty solid. Wolf, let's look at the chart for you guys too.
And on the news front with Wolf, by the way, it looks like TerraWolf just closed a deal with FluidStack, a premier AI cloud platform that builds and operates HPC clusters. And this deal represents roughly 6.7 billion in contracted revenues, with the total contract revenues expected to hit 16 billion. So that just came out that news just hit a day ago. So I would look for furthering developments. This isn't the first time they've gotten an investment like that. I remember JP Morgan, I want to say it was back in June, is when JP Morgan injected some money into them as well, before that Google deal happened. So it looks
Yeah.
like JP had a little bit of an idea of what was going to happen prior to that. But yeah, on the Wolf news front, that's what's the latest is with them.
Yeah, with Wolf, we took profits off this first pop over here. But if you look at it, if we had held on till now, because those were now in the money, definitely would have gotten a bigger return. But again, I will tell you this too: watching your profit go up and down for this long takes a lot of mental space. So it's a balance between understanding, what are you willing to hold on to? What are you willing to, because sometimes I'll be honest, some of these will pop and then they'll come all the way back down to where your entry was. And those hurt the most is if you held on to something where you had 1, 2, 300% returns and you didn't sell and you saw that come all the way back down to break even or even into a loss. Those ones hurt the most. So better to take profits often and take profits early and understand that the risk of it and watching it go up higher, that happens. But you make the best decision based upon what your portfolio says at that moment. And also try not to hold on to too many positions at once too. But I think Wolf could very possibly be headed up for higher. It wouldn't hurt for it to have a small pullback. It is kind of in this rising wedge pattern, but you could also argue that it looks like a bull flag too. Volume is it's not exactly there, but I think with the right type of news, we'll definitely see this above 12 and then 13. Back to STAX. Let's see if there's anything interesting that came in as market closed. Man, the amount of IWM puts that we see every day at close right now, dude. It is just that's a good what, like 10 million bucks maybe in just IWM puts. Mm.
I mean, I think part of the reason we see that though is because typically IWM is one of those ones that does the whole dump for the first like 30 minutes of market and then goes ahead and slowly melts its way back up through a session until we get some kind of macro data. Um, so I agree though. Usually we'll see IWM put walls just being built like within 2 minutes before 4 o'clock, and then for like pretty much the last 15 minutes that we're still capturing data for.
Right before close, we just see it at no. I'm on the West Coast here, so 1 o'clock is close. 12:58. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prints, all for November. $35 calls, at about $1.80, 83 each. So I mean, that's also something to consider when they try to get into a position right before close, not only just on the daily but also especially on Fridays. That's something to consider when they're getting in right before close. They're I would not be surprised to see if some sort of intel news comes out over the course of the next few days. Like, it's primed for it, right? And I will say too, I made that prediction about Palantir like 2 weeks ago, and I was technically wrong about it, but Palantir did move quite a bit. There was no news related to it. Palantir popped pretty hard, and if you had held on, it was that Thursday and Friday. I took like a 40% loss on it, but if you held on till Thursday or Friday, that same position would have returned 200%. So a lot of times it's just going to be the way the market moves and the way that they're loading up expecting something. I wish we had an indicator or some sort of tool that tells us exactly when to get out, but I don't think anybody really has that tool. Nobody has an idea where the top is going to be, but at this point, with today's flow for Intel, you would be an idiot right now to take puts. That's one way to put it. Right? You see, and as well too, we can see there was another spike in those at the end of the day that pushed price higher too. So Intel was trading at 31.62, came back down a little bit, but I'm expecting that we'll see it continue overnight and into tomorrow. Let's see, what else do we see coming in? I think I saw some MBT, MBIS. So starting from here, this is today, the first put. Okay, so obviously, if we're bullish on this, we want to see no puts at all. But also consider context. Okay, this one for Friday for the 110. So saying it's just going to drop a little bit from where it's at right now. Right, that's today. 100K. Okay, well, the next one, 220, and the next one, 210, all both for calls, kind of negate that in a way when you think about it. Okay, and then the next one, $168,000 for the 105 for next Friday. So they've got some expectation of a short-term pullback. But then you see them going out the money for Friday, one in the money. That's where that gold is. Two more out the monies. So NBIS going up toward one. I mean, it ran up a little bit at the end of the day again too, but 114, maybe 117, very possible, very very possible. You have more bullish sentiment there. Then we peek over at WaveX. I mean, guys, come on, look at that, right? Let me see if I can locked on my screen. Just make sure you guys can see this a little better. Okay, there we go. That way you can see this big green area on the bottom is basically showing you that there's more call premium You can also see the red line dropping down below 0 means that there's more puts being sold, which in a way is a bit bullish too. Drawing lines in the sand for them to potentially sell those puts. And again, we see price going up higher. So I would not be surprised to see NBIS higher by the end of the week with what WaveX and with what STAX is saying. Okay. There we go. Obviously, bullish on Intel, bullish on Wolf. Apple ran up pretty hard. Still quite a bit of big money coming in. A little bit longer term. December, aiming for 260. Definitely very possible. A lot of this was for the previous days. I think it's still running off of the hype for the new iPhone. My Verizon, I have Verizon, and they've texted me twice about upgrading my iPhone already. So I mean, they're putting in the work to try to make those sales. RGTI. Quick thing too. If you see them selling off the calls that they were into, if you see a lot of sell of the calls, that's also an indicator that you might want to start taking some of those profits. I filter for the buys because buys are situations where they're still getting into positions. Selling can definitely be edging their position, can definitely be a situation where they're getting out of one too. So RGTI still looks bullish. I'll tell you this, it's one of those things where it's hard to tell. People always ask me, it's like, Eric, should I, first, what's my price target? Should I take my profits, or do you think there's more to come? My response to that has always just been, if you're looking at those profits and your hands are shaking or getting sweaty, if you're looking at those profits and you want to take a screenshot and share with people, you should probably take some of it at least. Don't let those, because as much as we would love to see those greens go further, there's no guarantee. And based upon the information you have right now, like if I see this in stacks, yes, the probability still is that we could probably go up higher. Okay. But like Johan's saying in our chat, it is fairly overextended. If you take a look at RGTI in the chart, since it broke out, it is up 75%. It's dropped from the high, dropped what, 6% since it hit a high today. But since it's broken out, you could still say it's up 64%. So if you're in options, this is already making you a ton of money. Okay? Like I said, if I had stayed in, like you can see where I draw this box, the left corner where the green and the red meet, that's where I got in on those calls. Okay? I already took my profits on this because of the pop. But if you had held an even higher up here, realistically, these like I said, these calls that I was in that expire on Friday, they were a 10xer. 900% return. Okay? So my $1 calls are trading at $10 right now. $100 turned into $1,000 in the course of 7-8 trading days. So a week and a half. All right. Is there and we can do this. Let's look at this. On the big picture, on the daily, are we overextended? Yeah, we definitely are. But these are lagging indicators. So I'll use the leftover here as an example. You see here the first pop for RGTI back in December 2024. We see a bunch of volume come in, and the indicator says it's overextended. It sells off a little bit, goes back to overextended, sells off again, goes back to overextended, and again. So it hits overextended 4 times. So if you right here got out, then you would have ended up missing out on another 184% on RGTI. So that's the risk. It could definitely still go up. There is a lot of momentum for it right now. Okay. One thing we can do, the only thing that we really can do here is to use Fibonacci's to kind of estimate. So I could do this to say, okay, From the huge pop, and we could even maybe say from the first pop. Yeah, I like that one there. From the first bit of volume coming in, we have now hit the, look at that, 123% of the original move. The next target very possibly could be 39 bucks, close to 40. Okay. But we can also go ahead and take a look at this current move that we have. Let's say from this high, let's draw our Fibonacci retracement, because that's where the breakout is. And you can see in here, we have made a retracement to the 23%. We're holding it. We bounced off the 38%, 38.2, 0.382 right there. So realistically, if it holds this, we definitely can see it come back, retest that high, and like I said, potentially head toward 39. But you got again, it's all probability based. I would say there's probably a 60 to 70% chance right now we should be able to go up higher, but we also could come back down lower and possibly make some sort of curve back down before we head up again. It could come back as far as like the 0.618 is another possibility. So RGTI back up to 26 is possible too. So, you know, play your probabilities. STAX says big money is expecting it to go up more though, as of right now. We don't see so many puts coming in and hedging against it. We see some, but not so much that makes me say we're gonna drop soon. Yeah. WaveX is definitely very bullish on it. The flow, especially what big money is doing, short term, like we said, could see a little pullback, but continued upward trend is somewhat expected. You're very welcome for the feedback. Let's see. I posted MRVL, Marvel. They're a defense contractor up in the Bay Area. Looking pretty bullish as well. But I also, we saw some calls sold off near the end of the day. Still fairly bullish. A lot of them buying for October and November, so could be a news-based thing. The thing that I don't love about this is the fact that we have a lot of these that are in the money position. Okay, in the money you can expect is just, it's a safer play. Okay, instead of you trying to hit a home run, which are these out of the money ones, in the money is just trying to hit a single. All right, so obviously with the way options work, the more out the money you are and the quicker price moves toward it, the higher those returns are. So that's why you see people with these, you know, 3, 4, 5x returns on stuff, but that's because they took the risk without the money. In the money, because more of your premium is based upon the strike and the fact that the price is trading above it. In the money has more intrinsic value to those options, and therefore when it does move, the price percentages aren't going to be as high, but again, still can be pretty nice returns overall. But Marvel, I would say keep an eye on this one. I don't like getting into it right away right now, but that October 17th $87 strike there, you know, I could see something possibly happening where we head toward that. Oh no. How about you guys? Anything else that sticks out to you? I know some people said Tesla moved at the end of the day today. Tesla's been moving so hard though, and it's one of those bigger names where you see both sides come in pretty quick. So definitely more bullish than bearish with the way that WaveX is pointing it out. We did see a move today. We saw a pretty decent move today. 429 closed at 443. Solid move today. I personally don't trade Tesla. I don't trade Tesla. I don't trade SPY. I don't trade QQQ or IWM. I did my analysis of my own portfolio, and those are I think I get a little too greedy with it, or I get too fearful with it, and I make more emotional decisions based upon those ones. So at the end of the day, I like to trade. I like to trade options that have more time to them and have a chart that I can see the technicals behind. How's Oklo looking? Not a lot of puts for Oklo. In the money puts, though. For Friday. Take that for what you will. Anybody else notice anything? Any other tickers that are worth taking a look at? Let's peek over at Soundhound. I noticed it moved a lot the other day. Yeah, up to the top. Yeah, kind of have this little slanted version of a Wyckoff accumulation zone breaking up above. We could, I would say, it's very possible to see a little bit of consolidation in this range before we go up higher. Nothing really today. Saw a lot of stuff yesterday coming in for it. And actually, here's the thing. So if Wave X is showing me that it's more bearish than bullish, I would stay away from this until that flips. So hopefully you guys are starting to understand not only how STAX works, but in terms of options, where the risks are, and how we can use the insights that we see here to help us make more educated decisions as to what positions to get into. I need to do a better job of keeping track of everything. I mean, everything's in my Discord channel, but I post multiple times a day. But if I were able to take the screenshots from the STAX flow, put and show what the move is the day after, things like that, I will say you start to notice the trends. When I see a whole, let's use Intel as the example here. There we go. When I see Intel, a whole page of buys, if not more, just all buys. The only other thing I would love to see with Intel right here is to see big money, be seeing millions of dollars being spent. But you can understand the total aggregate of all of this added together is millions of dollars already. WaveX is new, but obviously having WaveX having a bullish bias alongside with it. And then my favorite chart pattern that I've been sharing with you guys is the Wyckoff accumulation pattern, which you guys should have seen over and over now. I even this little chart that we put I went and put this chart together just to have for our charts, but this is 100% a sign of strength moving up, and we're back into this preliminary supply. Technically, some people could even argue that this was the full range, so that the bottom two yellow lines, if I were to align it, we could technically argue that we've already moved up and past it, and so that the 1, 2, 3, technically there's another, it's a very basic candlestick pattern, but it's called the three white soldiers, where you have three green candles coming in together. And if you were to understand, this is the weekly too. We technically have 1, 2. I know this one is a red one, but it just means it closed low. 1, 2. If this at the end of the week we see Intel higher than 32, I think that's going to be our weekly indicator that we should continue to be bullish on it too. So volume's all there. We see a huge breakout and continued push up higher. So Intel's one of my picks where I think we should be able to see above 35, possibly close to 40. Question is always going to be how long is it going to take us to get there? I mean, you've got the US government backing on it. You got the biggest company in the world, Nvidia, backing it. all the tailwinds are there. I think it's just a matter of time. All right. I don't really see anything else today to necessarily go over, especially in stacks. I'll give you this though. Let's do flow scanner before we leave. Flow scanner, keep in mind flow scanner default is set for the week, so this is from Monday till today. I always like to take a quick look, go hit equals, hit the day of today. That way you get to see what exactly money was flowing into today. First thing that sticks out to me is this BMNR, Bitmine Immersions, Tom Lee's company, or I think he's on the board. 7 mil to 0. Alibaba did pop today. They announced some sort of AI that they're going to be developing and money flowing into it. So Baba popped. I've been vocal about this in all of our lives that China, you should be bullish on China overall. Basically, all of their big companies were making a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, and the moment that they announce a next stimulus or more money flowing into it, for example, and then Baidu and Alibaba both announced their own AI, their own versions of AI, so all that stuff is all bullish for them. In the long run, like, dude, Alibaba was under $100 at the beginning of the year, so big pops for them. Crazy, right? Intel here, 5 mil, almost 6 mil to 500K, right? Be aware, some of these are in thousands. Broadcom, bullish, 9, almost 10 mil to 450K. I've always kind of raised an eyebrow at MicroStrategy. It has not moved according to where they're pouring money into right now. Just because Bitcoin struggled a little bit recently. Tesla, we saw the move today. Nvidia, obviously, recently with all their announcements as well, could move up. CoreWeave, or almost 5 mil to 200K. Then we see some bearishness. XLV, 6 mil to 0. FCX, 5 mil to 500K. AMD, slightly bearish. Amazon, slightly bearish. Palo Alto Networks, 5 mil to 0. Semiconductors, this one's interesting. SMH being bearish right there. EOSE, man, we were back in this back when it was below $5. It's popped. It's an energy company. It's definitely popped. A little bit bearish right now. When it does flip back to bullish, I would definitely say take a look at it. JD bullish. Open bullish, but be careful, that one's trading like a meme stock. Coinbase bullish. So again, use Flow Scanner to help you direct your eyes to what's going on, especially when right when it opens and then right when it closes. This is always a good snapshot as to what to expect with the markets. And as a result, I'm going to take a screenshot and post it in my channel. For those of you that are here in our live stream, do me a favor, please. I know we do all of these on YouTube for you guys every Wednesday. Hit that like button for me. It's just my little way of getting a gauge of how useful our streams are for you guys. Costs you guys nothing but a flick of the finger. So, can we get a free trial for 2 weeks? You can go ahead and use the closing bell code down there, 20% off. I'll tell you this, a lot of our users within the first trade are making back that, if not more. And a lot of our users are using these codes and eventually, making enough so that they can afford that yearly subscription. Not only for STAX, but also for our Discord. Keep in mind, under investorcentralclub.com/memberships, we have 2 separate subscriptions. One is our memberships. One is the STAX membership, which is for what you guys see here in terms of the STAX flow and all that. You can use this on your desktop. You can use it from a browser. You can use it from your phone. And it has multiple things. I usually move the stuff that I'm not looking at and not talking about off the, but we have equities. You can see the dark pool as well. You have flow scanner WaveX, the regular option flow. We have the market events, the politician tracker, and also the insider trades that you can see in here too. Okay. In addition, we do have our Discord membership. Discord membership allows you access to, you can go with a monthly subscription. If you want to use IC10, you can get 10% off of this for your Discord subscription. The cool thing too as well, and that's, we've been pushing this a little bit more, the STAX membership also does have access to a very limited amount of our channels in our Discord. So basically it's main chat, me, and Max. You also have a videos channel down here. I know my face is blocking it right now, but you have a videos channel where you can see basically everything that we're posting on YouTube as well. But the main things that are in here that people are using in our Discord is just basically access to me and Max. We make probably we post the most in terms of the investors in here, the trades that we're making and the screenshots that we're making. But I will say this widget that we have is fairly limited. If you are a part of STAX, I also mentioned in our STAX support, you can go ahead and email me, eric@investorcentralclub.com. And let me know. That way, you got to give me your, obviously you'll email me from your email, and then you'll give me your Discord name handle, and we can give you access to these on the Discord app directly if that's what you want. But it's just a way for you to get part of the access. Keep in mind though, the reason that a lot of people are paying for the actual Discord membership is the fact that our founder, our CEO, Kimo, the guy that owns the McLaren, is on his honeymoon in Italy right now. His channel is included under the full Discord membership, alongside with all the education, all the other posts that we make, the full community, and there's a reason why people pay for both. But again, the Discord was the original foundation of what Investor Central Club was in the beginning, and as time went on, we eventually developed STAX and the STAX platform, because the Discord does have access to some of, it still has access to all the flow, but it's not going to be something where you can filter through it, you can sort it, and you can analyze it in real time and so efficiently as STAX is. Would I recommend just using STAX AI prints those that have an 80% win record? Yeah, I would definitely say there are some people that just go in, they buy STAX AI. I will point out, make sure that you listen to, oh, it's on just today. These, you guys can go into our YouTube channel and take a look. We have some playlists. We have all of our STAX backtesting that I do every single month. The next one's coming up in a week. These do have over an 80% win rate, at the highs, 90-something% win rate if you calculate it just based upon it going green. I will give you a disclaimer with it though, is the fact that these are ones where you may want to make sure you monitor it for some time. You really have to be patient with STAX AI. There are a lot of these positions, and I'm going to bring this up in my next backtesting. One of our members did us a solid, and he actually took the entire list that I have, and he went and double checked the entire chart of those options. And what he found was that there are a small percentage of these that go up right away. So from where they enter, they pop within the next day or two because news is coming out. Then there are quite a few of them, the majority of them will have some sort of drawdown, whether it is down 20, 30, 40%. There are a few that even went down as much as like 90-something%, and then they pop afterward. Our win rate is based upon a 15% win rate or 15% gain from where they entered. Okay. Overall, our average return rate is over 200. It's like 260% average returns. But again, you can understand with the math behind it, we do have quite a few of these that were like 30x returns, 20x returns, things like that. There's quite a big handful of those that obviously are going to move those averages a little bit higher. And if you took those out, still well over 100 something percent. Okay. So um, the back testing, the stats in there. We also in our STAX Discord also have a STAX AI back testing channel where I post all of these for you guys too. I don't know why those are not working. Maybe those are because I forwarded it. But our STAX back testing we do every single month. There are some people, one of our members, Dylan, actually buys these just the moment they're called out. He buys them blindly, sets his take profit for 40%. His portfolio, his 10K portfolio, is up 60% in a matter of 3 months. Okay. So if you can size for zero with STAX AI, I think that would be it is something I would recommend, but I would definitely say make sure once it does go green that you set your stop losses and your take profits, because there are ones where I see a huge pop and then it just kind of trickles its way back down, and I would hate for you to see a 80% winner off of one of these and then see it just slowly trickle back down to zero because you're sizing for zero. You got to have some sort of metric of where you're willing to take those profits on it. I would definitely suggest watch my videos. Go watch the STAX AI videos. You have our email. You can email us at help@investorcentralclub.com. We're always here to help you guys out. If you are in the STAX software, you have access to the STAX support and the main channels. You can always have a conversation with us in there. My live on Discord, this is we go every day, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Usually we won't stream on Friday because there's nothing really to talk about. But we will go on there usually the last hour before market close. If there are any sort of big events, like yesterday we had FOMC, a meeting where Jerome Powell was speaking, sometimes we'll jump on there and just stream that so that the community can kind of watch things as it goes. But generally, it's going to be the last hour before market close to go look over what's going on in STAX, go look over what the flow is, help answer some questions. There's always some newbies in the channel, and helping you guys out when it comes down to the markets. Hopefully you guys are doing well. You can always post your profits in the club profits channel. Let us know how things are going. You can always DM me or Max directly. Let us know. Quick reminder too. Discord scammers have been so rampant, guys. We do our best to try to kick them from our server the moment we notice it, the moment they try to, imitate us and things like that. But there have been quite a few scammers that are out there that will message you directly. We're never gonna go out of our way to message you directly and try to sell you some sort of service. The only service we have is our Discord and our STAX. Okay, so please, we already had, I know, one person that sent some money to a copy trading service and got scammed out of like $1,000 because of it. We do our best to try to kick them from our server, but obviously, with the world of AI and the world of automated, processes, sometimes a few of them will slip through the cracks. All right, guys. You know what? Max and I have really been enjoying doing these. As long as we have an audience, as long as you guys are here participating, have questions, and are interested, we'll continue to do these. It originally started with us just doing streams for earnings, but we realized that doing them all on YouTube doesn't quite give our Discord members the value that they're there for, so we're doing them. All right. You're very welcome, Stacy. We're here to help. Message us if you have questions. Um, you guys back in the Discord. Max, you got anything to add with it?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Today was pretty flat. It was pretty much a split market, Nvidia against the world. So not much action today, but also no data other than new home sales. So not really wasn't expecting much.
Yeah, the flow was kind of stale, but there were a few that definitely stuck out to me. That's why I posted those. We already shared those: Intel, Wolf, CoreWeave. Um, yeah, you guys have that in my channel to look at. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Enjoy the rest of your lovely Wednesday. I will see you guys in the Discord tomorrow for our live stream. We will watch Costco earnings tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll get some sort of indicators in STAX tomorrow as to what side big money is going to be taking. But after MU yesterday, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to take a earnings position with it. I mean, I sized for zero with MU, but it's one of those things where you see the pop, you get all excited, and it just trickles away overnight. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you guys in the next one.